They say the worst betrayals come from the people you trust most. I used to think that was dramatic, paranoid even. I thought loyalty was earned through years of partnership, through raising kids together, through building a life brick by brick. I was wrong. The worst betrayals don't announce themselves. They hide behind late meetings and business trips and I love you texts sent between lies. My name is Andrew Carson. I'm 42 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I watched my 19-year-old son hold a man against a hotel lobby wall while I made sure that man would never forget what happens when you touch another man's wife. 22 years ago, I met Christine Williams in the most unremarkable place imaginable, a fluorescent-lit classroom at the local community college. I was Andrew Carson, 20 years old, hauling boxes in a warehouse during the day and chasing an accounting degree at night. She was 18, working retail with dreams bigger than her paycheck, studying hospitality management between double shifts. We sat beside each other by pure chance that first night. I remember her chewing the end of her pen during lectures, scribbling notes in handwriting so neat it looked like calligraphy. When she asked to borrow my calculator, something clicked. Two hungry kids with calloused hands and ambitious hearts, grinding through night classes while our friends were out partying. 3 months later, we were inseparable. 3 years after that, we married in a cheap community hall with friends, family, and promises we meant with every fiber of our being. The wedding photos show 2 kids who looked like they could conquer the world together. Maybe we could have. At 25, Christine got pregnant with Ethan. Money was brutally tight. I mean, choosing between groceries and gas money tight. I worked doubles at the warehouse while Christine stayed home for 6 months before financial reality forced her back to work. We took turns being exhausted, took turns holding it together, took turns believing this struggle was temporary. When Ethan was 3, Maya arrived, and our family felt complete. 4 people crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment, sharing 1 bathroom and dreams that seemed too big for our circumstances. But we were solid. We were happy. We were the kind of couple other people looked at and thought, they've got something real. I climbed from warehouse supervisor to operations director at a logistics firm over the next 15 years, earning my way to $95,000 annually. Christine rose from front desk clerk to senior marketing manager at a luxury hotel chain, pulling in $87,000. We bought a house, nothing fancy, but ours. We saved for the kids' college funds. We took beach vacations and camping trips, nothing glamorous, but filled with laughter and inside jokes and the comfortable rhythm of people who genuinely liked each other. I coached Ethan's basketball team. Christine cheered from the stands, sometimes still in her work clothes, having rushed from the hotel to make tip-off. Maya excelled in debate club, and we both sat in those school auditoriums, bursting with pride as our daughter systematically demolished opposing arguments. We were solid, happy, the kind of family people envied without knowing they envied us. Then, 2 years ago, Christine's promotion changed everything. Senior marketing manager meant more responsibility, bigger territory, and travel, 3 to 4 nights monthly for client meetings and property tours. When she told me about the offer, I kissed her forehead and said, "I'm proud of you. You earned this." I picked up the slack at home without complaint, because that's what partners do. That's what love looks like in real life. Except now, sitting at my kitchen table at 2 a.m., I realize I can't remember the last time Christine called during a trip. Those long, rambling, 30-minute conversations about her day, my day, the kids' latest achievements. They became 10-minute check-ins, then 5-minute texts. Busy day, exhausted, love you, good night. And yesterday, Maya asked something that's been eating at me ever since. "Dad, why does Mom smile at her phone like that?" she wondered aloud. "Different. Not like when she texts you." I stare at my sleeping wife beside me. After 20 years of marriage, I suddenly realize I have no idea who she's texting at midnight when she thinks I'm asleep. Over the following 3 weeks, I became a detective in my own marriage. I didn't want to be. Every observation felt like a betrayal of 20 years of trust. But I couldn't unsee what Maya had pointed out. Once you notice the smile, you can't unnotice it. Christine's phone became face down constantly. Always. On the kitchen counter, the nightstand, the coffee table, always face down like she was hiding something. The password had changed 2 months ago, something she mentioned casually. Work security requirements, you know how it is, she had explained when I noticed. I didn't question it then. Why would I? New dresses appeared in the closet, elegant, expensive pieces that cost more than her usual purchases. Nothing like what she wore to our family dinners or Maya's debate tournaments. There was a new perfume too, something floral and unfamiliar that replaced the vanilla scent I'd been buying her for birthdays and Christmas for years. She started going to the gym at 5 a.m., returning 90 minutes later with perfect makeup already applied. When I asked about it, she said, "I feel better starting the day put together. Professional image, you know." It made sense. Everything she said made sense individually. But together, the changes painted a picture I didn't want to see. The calls during business trips virtually disappeared. Now it was just texts, brief, functional, devoid of the warmth that used to fill our phone conversations. She'd text me schedules and logistics. Landing at 3, meetings until 8, call you tomorrow morning. When she was home, she was physically present but mentally elsewhere. Scrolling, typing, smiling at messages she quickly swiped away when I entered the room. One evening over dinner, I mentioned an idea that had been forming. "I'm thinking about surprising you on your next trip," I suggested casually. "Maybe taking the kids to visit, making it a family weekend in whatever city you're in." Christine's face flashed pure panic before she recovered, forced a smile. "That's sweet, honey, but these trips are wall-to-wall meetings," she replied quickly. "I'd barely see you. Let's plan something special when I'm home instead." The response was logical, reasonable, but that split second of fear in her eyes wasn't logical at all. I lay in bed that night, running through possibilities. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe the promotion really was this demanding. Maybe I was creating problems where none existed because I was insecure about her success, threatened by her professional growth. Maybe I was the problem. Then Christine's phone buzzed on the nightstand. She was asleep, breathing deeply beside me, exhausted from another long day of meetings. My hand hovered over the device. I had never, not once in 20 years, violated her privacy. We'd built our marriage on trust, respect, and the assumption that we were on the same team. But my hand was already moving. I picked up the phone. The screen showed a notification. "Richard, can't wait for Chicago. Just us, finally." Richard Thornton, her boss, the VP of marketing with the too-white smile and wandering eyes I'd met once at a holiday party 2 years ago. He'd made some comment about Christine being lucky to have such a supportive husband, while his gaze lingered too long on her dress. I'd dismissed it then as typical corporate sliminess. My blood turned to ice. I memorized every word of that message before the screen went dark. I set the phone down exactly as I found it, my hands shaking. I didn't sleep. By dawn, I'd decided. Christine's Chicago trip was in 5 days. 4 days, 4 nights. "Big client presentation," she'd said. I was going to find out exactly what kind of presentation she was planning to give. The message had said, "Just us, finally." Finally. How long had this been happening? And what exactly happens in Chicago that requires privacy? I was about to find out, and I was taking my kids with me, partly as cover, partly because if my worst fears were confirmed, they deserved to know the truth about their mother. Thursday morning, Christine kissed everyone goodbye like she had dozens of times before. I watched her load her overnight bag, the one now packed with those new dresses and unfamiliar perfume, into her car. She looked beautiful, professional, happy, excited in a way she hadn't been about anything involving our family in months. I turned to Ethan and Maya after her taillights disappeared around the corner. "How do you two feel about a road trip?" I asked. Ethan, 19 and home from State University for winter break, exchanged glances with his 16-year-old sister. He'd grown into my height but inherited Christine's sharp intelligence, and those combination traits made him impossible to fool. "What kind of road trip, Dad?" he asked cautiously. "Chicago," I replied. "We'll surprise your mom. Drive up Friday, spend the weekend, maybe catch a show." Maya's eyes lit up immediately. She'd been begging us to take her to see Hamilton for months. But Ethan, 6'3" of muscle and basketball-honed instincts, studied my face with the intensity he usually reserved for analyzing opposing teams' defense strategies. "Dad, is everything okay?" he pressed. I forced what I hoped was a convincing smile. "Everything's fine," I lied. "I just miss your mom." Ethan didn't buy it. I could see the wheels turning behind his eyes, processing my body language, my tone, the fact that I'd never once in his memory planned a spontaneous romantic gesture. But he didn't argue. Smart kid. Friday morning, we loaded the car with weekend bags and road trip snacks. I called Christine as we pulled out of the driveway. "Hey, babe, just checking in," I said when she answered. "How's the trip going?" "Good, really good," she replied brightly. "Busy, though. Meetings all day yesterday, more today. I'm exhausted." Her voice sounded normal, convincingly tired. She was an excellent liar. 20 years of marriage, and I'd never noticed how good she was at lying. "Where are you staying again?" I asked. "The Regency downtown," she answered. "Why?" "Just curious," I replied. "Want to know where my beautiful wife is sleeping?" The words tasted like ash in my mouth. "Aw, that's sweet," she responded with what sounded like genuine affection. "Miss you too, honey. Listen, I've got to run. Another meeting starting. Love you." "Love you too," I managed. I typed the address into the Regency Hotel, Chicago. 320 miles, 7 hours. The first hour passed in silence, punctuated by Maya's playlist and the occasional direction from the Jeep. Then Maya broke the quiet. "Dad, are we really just surprising Mom?" she asked hesitantly. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" I replied. "You've been weird all week," she observed. "Watching her. And Ethan's been watching you like you're about to explode or something." Ethan leaned forward from the back seat. "Dad," he said firmly, "tell us the truth. What's going on?" I exhaled slowly, considering my options. I could lie, protect them, keep pretending everything was fine until we got to Chicago and saw whatever we were going to see. But they weren't children anymore. Ethan was an adult. Maya was old enough to understand how the world really worked. If Christine had destroyed our family, they deserved to know. They were going to see for themselves soon enough. "I don't know," I admitted finally. "Maybe nothing. But I need to see for myself." "See what?" Maya pressed. I didn't answer. The GPS showed 247 miles remaining. The rest of the drive was punctuated by gas station stops and fast food that tasted like cardboard. Ethan scrolled his phone with increasing tension, his jaw tight. Maya stared out the window, occasionally asking questions I couldn't answer. My mind ran through scenarios. Best case, I was paranoid. Christine was genuinely working. The text was misunderstood. Worst case, everything I'd built for 20 years was a carefully constructed lie. As Chicago's skyline appeared on the horizon, I realized I was hoping desperately for the best-case scenario. But I was prepared for the worst. We arrived at 4:30 p.m. The Regency Hotel towered above us, all marble and gold fixtures and crystal chandeliers. Valet parking, the kind of place that charges $18 for a cocktail and makes you feel underdressed in a suit. I walked through the revolving doors, Ethan and Maya flanking me like bodyguards. The lobby bustled with business travelers and tourists. I scanned the space methodically, looking for her. Then I saw her. Near the bar, Christine in a navy dress I'd never seen, hair styled professionally, heels that cost more than my monthly car payment. She looked stunning, confident, happy. And next to her stood Richard Thornton. Richard leaned close to my wife, laughing at something she'd just said. Not the polite corporate laughter of colleagues discussing quarterly projections. This was intimate, familiar. His hand rested on the small of her back like he'd done it 1,000 times before. "There she is," I said, my voice barely recognizable. Ethan followed my gaze. "Who's that guy with her?" he asked. "Her boss," I answered grimly. We watched from across the lobby. Christine touched Richard's arm while making a point, and he smiled. Not the professional courtesy smile you give colleagues, but something deeper. Something that made my stomach drop through the marble floor. Then Richard leaned in and kissed her. Not a peck on the cheek, not European air kiss professionalism. A real kiss. Her hand on his chest, his hand on her waist, lingering, practiced, familiar. Maya gasped. "Oh my God," she whispered. Ethan's whole body went rigid. "Dad," he started. But I was already moving across the marble floor, my footsteps silent beneath the ambient hotel music and conversation. Christine hadn't seen me yet. She was still smiling up at Richard, still touching him, completely unaware that her entire world was about to explode. I grabbed Richard's shoulder and spun him around. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I snarled. Richard's expensive cologne hit my nostrils, something woody and pretentious. His too-white smile faltered as he took in my face, my posture, the barely contained violence radiating from every muscle in my body. "Who the hell?" he began. My fist connected with his jaw. 20 years of loyalty, of picking up slack, of trusting, of believing in late meetings and client presentations, channeled into that single punch. The crack of knuckles meeting bone echoed through the marble lobby like a gunshot. Richard staggered backward, blood immediately streaming from his mouth. Christine screamed, "Andrew?" But Ethan moved faster than his father. Basketball reflexes and 19 years of watching his dad treat his mom with absolute respect exploded into action. He grabbed Richard by his tailored lapels and slammed him against the marble wall, hard. Held him there with the strength of youth and rage while Richard struggled pathetically. "Don't move," Ethan growled, his voice barely recognizable, all traces of my college kid replaced by something primal and dangerous. I stepped forward, looking into Richard's eyes as fear replaced that smug confidence. "You thought you could touch my wife?" I asked coldly. "I didn't, it's not... We were just..." Richard stammered. My fist drove into his stomach with everything I had. Richard doubled over, gasping, but Ethan held him upright like a trophy on display. I grabbed Richard's collar, pulled him face to face until I could see the terror in his eyes. "How long?" I demanded. "Please, I can explain," he wheezed. My knee came up hard, straight between his legs. Richard's scream echoed through the marble lobby like a wounded animal. Guests froze mid-conversation. Phones emerged from pockets. Someone shouted for security. I didn't care. 20 years of marriage reduced to this moment. This pathetic man crumpled against a hotel wall. Ethan released Richard, who collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. But I wasn't done. My boot connected with his ribs once, twice, 3 times. Each kick punctuated by images flooding my mind. Christine laughing with this man, texting this man, lying to my face for months while I cooked dinner and helped with homework and believed we were still a family. "Andrew, stop!" Christine was sobbing, grabbing my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. "Please, stop!" I shoved her off with enough force to send her stumbling backward in those new heels. Heels bought for this man, for these trips, for this life she'd been living behind my back. "Don't touch me," I spat. She caught herself against the bar, her perfectly applied makeup streaming down her face in black rivers. Hotel security rushed over. 3 men in blazers looking uncertain about confronting someone who'd just beaten a man half to death in their lobby. I held up my hands, stepping back from Richard's groaning form. "I'm done," I announced. Richard lay curled on the marble floor, bleeding from his mouth, whimpering from the groin injury that had reduced him from corporate executive to broken animal in 30 seconds. His expensive suit was scuffed with shoe prints and dust. A crowd had formed. 30, maybe 40 people with phones recording, whispering, staring. A woman covered her child's eyes. A businessman whispered something to his colleague about calling police. The bartender stood frozen with a drink shaker in his hand. I looked at all of them, then at Christine. Her eyes pleaded with me. Her hands reached out desperately. Her mouth formed words. "Andrew, please, I can explain. It's not what you think. It was a mistake," she babbled. "Don't," I said, my voice cutting through her pleading like glass. "Don't lie to me anymore. It was a mistake. I never meant for this to happen," she continued desperately. "You meant every second of it," I replied, my voice eerily calm now, cold as the marble beneath our feet. "Every text, every trip, every time you kissed me goodbye and drove to him. You meant all of it." "Andrew," she started again. "We're done," I stated flatly. "No, please, think about the kids," she begged. I glanced at Maya, who stood white-faced with tears streaming silently down her cheeks. At Ethan, whose fists were still clenched, trembling with adrenaline and betrayal. "The kids just watched their mother destroy their family," I said coldly. "You did that, not me." Security approached cautiously. "Sir, we need you to leave the premises," one of them said. I nodded, looked down at Richard one final time, leaned close so only he could hear. "If you ever come near my family again, I'll finish what I started. Do you understand me?" I whispered. Richard nodded frantically, gasping. I straightened, looked at Christine one last time. 22 years of shared history, 2 children, a home, a life built on what I thought was mutual love and respect. All of it contaminated now, rotted from within by lies and hotel rooms and a broken man bleeding on marble floors. "Don't call me, don't text me, don't come home," I said with finality. I turned to my children. "Let's go," I said simply. I didn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m., my attorney Lisa Grant returned my emergency call from the hotel room. "Andrew, I got your message," she said when I answered. "Tell me everything." I did. The suspicions, the text message, the 7-hour drive, the hotel lobby, Richard's hands on my wife, the kiss, the violence, the witnesses, the videos that were probably already viral on social media. "Jesus Christ," Lisa breathed. "Okay. First question. Did you get arrested?" "No," I replied. "Security just wanted us gone. We left immediately." "Good," she responded. "Second, you have witnesses to the infidelity?" "My children," I answered. "And probably 50 strangers with cell phones." "Even better," she said with satisfaction. "Third, I assume you want full custody of Maya?" "Joint custody," I corrected. "But I want the house, and I want Christine to understand that she destroyed this family, not me. Illinois is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity still matters significantly for custody disputes and asset division, especially with witness testimony and video evidence," Lisa explained. "I'll file papers today. You'll be served by Wednesday." "Thank you, Lisa," I said. I hung up and stared at my children. Maya hadn't spoken since the hotel. Ethan kept clenching and unclenching his fists. We drove home in complete silence. 7 hours of processing what we'd witnessed, what it meant, what came next. At 7 a.m. the next morning, Christine appeared at our door. She must have driven through the night. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair unwashed, still wearing that navy dress from the hotel. She looked destroyed. I didn't care. I opened the door 6 inches. "What?" I said flatly. "Andrew, please," she pleaded. "Let me explain." "No," I replied curtly. "It was a mistake," she insisted. "I never meant to hurt you or the kids. It just happened." "It just happened for how long?" I asked coldly. "Weeks? Months? Christine's silence was the answer I expected and dreaded. 8 months, she finally whispered. It started 8 months ago. 8 months, 2/3 of a year, hundreds of lies, thousands of text messages, dozens of business trips. 8 months of looking me in the eye every morning and pretending our marriage meant something. Get out, I ordered. Andrew, she started. You have 5 seconds before I call the police and tell them you're trespassing, I warned. This is my house too, she protested. Not anymore, I corrected her. My attorney filed papers yesterday. You'll get served next week. Until then, you're not welcome here. You can't keep me from my children, she cried. I'm not keeping you from anyone, I replied. They can decide if they want to see you. Ethan already decided. He told me this morning he's done with you. Maya won't even say your name. Christine crumbled, sinking to her knees on our porch like her strings had been cut. Please, she sobbed. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll never see Richard again. Please don't take my family away. I looked down at her. This woman I'd met 22 years ago in a community college classroom. The woman I'd built a life with. The woman I'd trusted with everything. You're never going to see Richard again anyway, I informed her coldly. His wife is filing for divorce too. And yes, he was married. 3 kids. Did you know that? Christine's face went pale as marble. Didn't think so, I continued. You destroyed 2 families, Christine. Congratulations. I closed the door, locked it. She pounded on it for 5 minutes, pleading, sobbing, promising things she should have thought about 8 months ago. Then her car started, and she was gone. Over the next month, the dominoes fell with surgical precision. Day 3. Christine was placed on administrative leave pending investigation into workplace conduct violations. Day 5. Richard was fired. Company policy strictly prohibited relationships between supervisors and subordinates. The hotel chain couldn't risk the liability. Day 7. Richard's wife filed for divorce, taking their house and primary custody of their children. Day 12. Christine was terminated officially for violating ethics policies. Day 18. Maya agreed to meet Christine for coffee. It lasted 12 minutes. Maya came home, went to her room, and emerged 3 hours later with red eyes. I'm done with her, Dad, she announced quietly. She's not my mom anymore. Day 24. Ethan blocked Christine's number entirely. Day 30. The 3 of us started family therapy. We were broken, but we were healing. Together. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. I signed them in Lisa's office, my children beside me. When the pen lifted from paper, 20 years of marriage officially ended. What came next wasn't revenge. It was survival. 3 months after the hotel lobby, I sit in my backyard at dusk, watching the sun paint the sky orange and purple. The divorce was finalized last week with terms more favorable than I'd expected. I kept the house. We split savings 50-50. Joint custody of Maya, though at 16, Maya exercised her legal right to choose where she lives. She chose me. Christine gets visitation every other weekend. Christine hasn't shown up once. Ethan hasn't spoken to his mother since Chicago. When I asked if he wanted to reach out, he said simply, "She made her choice. I'm making mine." Maya tried harder than anyone should have to. 3 coffee meetings, 2 lunches, 1 attempt at family therapy that ended with Maya walking out after 15 minutes. She keeps saying it was a mistake, Maya told me afterward. But mistakes are accidents. She chose him, again and again, for 8 months. That's not a mistake, Dad. That's a decision. I couldn't argue with that logic. Christine is working now, administrative assistant at a small corporate office. $42,000 salary, less than half what she made before. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment across town. I ran into her once at the grocery store. She looked thin, tired, hollow. She tried to talk to me. I nodded politely and walked away. There's nothing left to say. Richard fared worse. His divorce cost him everything: house, savings, retirement fund. His kids won't speak to him. He's working in sales now, making a fraction of his VP salary. LinkedIn shows he moved 2 states away. I Googled him once out of morbid curiosity, then never again. Richard isn't worth the mental space. As for me, some days are better than others. I'm in therapy, individual sessions and family sessions with the kids. We're processing, healing, learning to trust again slowly. I went on one date 3 weeks ago, dinner with a friend of a coworker. It was nice. Conversation, laughter, normalcy. But when she texted asking for a second date, I realized I wasn't ready. Maybe in 6 months. Maybe in a year. Maya is thriving. She won a debate tournament last month, and I sat in the audience watching her systematically destroy opposing arguments with precision and confidence. She's resilient, strong, she'll be okay. Ethan calls twice a week from university. We talk about basketball, classes, life, normal father-son things. The wound is healing, though the scar remains. I'm 42 years old, divorced, single father, and I'm okay. My son stood beside me that day in Chicago. My daughter saw the truth, and we walked away from the lies together. Christine made her choices. So did I. I chose my kids, my integrity, my self-respect, and I'd make that choice again, every single time.